In most cases, tinted to the desired colour shades is performed on mixing stations at the point of sale, or in the case of larger quantities, in the factory. The advantage of mixing stations in UMix centres across Europe is, above all, the flexibility in terms of quick delivery of tinted renders and the offer of colour shades of an extremely wide spectre. Namely, it enables tinting by JUB's colour chart as well as by other colour charts in a practical way according to the client's preference. Of course, some restrictions apply related to the type of binder to be used in each render. After taking the render from the scoop, and when the pigmenting paste is well mixed into the render, take the test sample imprint and enter it into the mixing diary in order to make sure that the renders of all containers are of the same colour shade, and to check the matching of render with the anticipated shade according to the colour chart. In cases where it's necessary to provide more than one container of render for a finished wall surface, it should be equalized in the proper way. Prior to use, render compound should be stirred well with an electric mixer. If necessary, however, only exceptionally, it should be adequately diluted according to the instructions on the packaging. Silicate renders must be diluted with silicate primer Ubersil GX, whilst acrylic and silicon renders may be diluted with water. The colour shade must be checked, and then the mortar compound should be equalized to remove even the slightest, even imperceptible differences between individual containers. First, mix the content of 4 containers in a bucket of appropriate size. Equalization of white mortars of the same production batch or having the same manufacturing date and which have not been diluted is not necessary. When stirring paste-like mortar compounds, care should be taken. Stop stirring when they become homogeneous. When a quarter of the compound prepared in this way is used, the content of the next container is added to the bucket and stirred well together with the rest of the mortar compound already in the bucket. Continue using this procedure until the entire wall or building is finished. Any repairs of the render compound during application, adding of tinting agents, diluting and other, are not allowed. Troweled render mortar compound is applied manually using a stainless steel smoothing trowel or mechanically by spraying in a thickness equal to the diameter of the largest sand grain. The angle between the wall surface and the smoothing or painting trowel should be as small as possible and should not in any case exceed 15 degrees. A few minutes after application, the optimal time depends on the surface absorption and the microclimate conditions. Trowel the surface with a hard plastic smoothing trowel so that structural sand grains are rolled by the smoothing trowel onto the wall surface in order to ridge the application evenly. Troweling should be performed horizontally, vertically and with circular strokes. At the end, a few minutes after troweling, push any mortar lumps sticking out of the render surface into the surface by smoothing the surface slightly using a clean stainless steel smoothing trowel. The width of the working area should be up to 150 centimeters, while the height should not exceed 200 to 240 centimeters. For manual application of smooth render, a stainless steel smoothing trowel is needed and a stainless steel painting trowel, while for the application to smaller surfaces, 2 stainless painting trowels are needed. The render should be spread out as evenly as possible over the surface being processed. The coat thickness should be approximately 1.5 times the diameter of the largest grain in the mortar compound. The angle between the wall surface and the smoothing trowel or painting trowel should be as small as possible and in any case not exceed 15 degrees. Surplus material should be removed with a stainless steel smoothing trowel. When doing this, the thickness of the application should, by feel, be decreased to 1.3 times the diameter of the largest sand grain in the mortar compound. Surplus mortar should not be thrown away, rather it should be mixed with an unused batch and applied in the neighbouring work area. Immediately upon application, the render surface should be smoothed with a hard plastic float. Floating should be performed with circular strokes until an evenly grained structure is reached. During floating, the grains in the applied mortar coat should move only a little, while pushing the mortar compound in the form of a wave in front of the float is not allowed. Formation of such a wave can, in most cases, be attributed to overly thick application or poorly prepared or uneven surfaces. All types of decorative renders can also be applied mechanically by spraying. Mechanical application is conducted primarily on large buildings, where works are conducted faster in this way. As a result, considerable time can be saved during the application itself, which consistently means lower subcontractor costs. The application should be performed as fast as possible without interruptions from one corner of the wall to another. When applying the render to wall surfaces higher than one floor, it must be applied simultaneously to all floors. In such cases, always begin the application of the render at the top floor while performing a step shift in lower floors. The width of the working area should be up to 150 centimeters, while the height should not exceed 200 to 240 centimeters. During the application of decorative renders to facade surfaces, respect the rule that the application should always start on surfaces located higher in order to avoid damage to render in the lower working area. Further, reveal surfaces of window openings are always processed first, and afterwards the larger facade surface is processed. It is very important to properly protect the surfaces of windows, doors, etc. If done upon completing the painting works, no additional work is required in order to clean the building. This is especially true for works with materials of a silicate basis, where chemical adhesion to the surface occurs. In this event, such stains are usually very hard to remove.